Today we're going to talk about some different tips and tricks when it comes to facing killers as survivors. Last time we talked about Trapper all the way to Huntress.
Are you ready for? Are you ready for?
Today let's start talking about Bubba, the cannibal. Pre-planning your escapes against the cannibal is hard to do, but it's also really the only thing you can do. As he's a one-shot killer when he's revving his chainsaw, he has different add-ons that can extend that or make him more quick while he has his chainsaw revved. Using your ears against Bubba is one of the best things you can do because you'll hear him coming from pretty far away. He has a loud terror radius, his music is loud, and you can hear the chainsaw essentially across the map. Sticking a gen against a Bubba is not really the best thing to do. Hearing him coming and using his terror radius to leave your gen early to be able to hide or position yourself in a strong loop. Don't be upset if you get left on hook by a camping Bubba. Strong teammates will let you go into second stage and maybe even die on first hook. A camping Bubba is just kind of baiting other survivors to come in there for him to insta-down you at the hook. You don't come across too many of them, but they do exist. Using that time that the survivor is on the hook to pop as many gens as possible and pretty much GTFO is the strongest plan you can against a face camping Bubba. Once you've heard that chainsaw and you realize it's the cannibal, figuring out where the basement is something you need to do ASAP. Staying away from it because he likes basement. He's going to want to put somebody in it because it's going to be easy downs for him if somebody tries to go down into basement. Also, if you haven't heard a terror radius or nobody's taken a hook yet, you've noticed on the HUD that nobody's taken any chains and you've maybe popped a gen or maybe even two and you're wondering where the killer is, it's Bubba. He's in the basement and he's guarding his chest. Those are a rare gem in Dead by Daylight. Those are a chest camping Bubba and we love them dearly. The Nightmare. Freddy is actually one of my favorites to play, as I don't really play too many killers, but Huntress and Freddy have always kind of been a staple for me. Facing a pallet Freddy is, in my opinion, a lot harder than facing a blood pool Freddy. I don't think you see as many blood pool Freddys, and I think it's easier for survivors to get away while being hindered than it is to kind of mess them up with fake pallets. Freddy isn't a killer that you see a whole lot, but when you do, I think it's harder to play against him because you're kind of out of practice. Once you realize if he's blood pool or fake pallet Freddy, running through pools of blood or throwing fake pallets when you're not in chase or when you're kind of safe to do so is a must against Freddy. It's going to help you and it's going to help your teammates as well as you kind of face off against him through the match. Waking yourself up or waking each other up when possible isn't something I would say to do immediately at the very top of the match because it's going to take longer every time you wake somebody up. You'll notice the animation of clapping your hands together and the bar that fills is going to take longer every time you wake up that one specific survivor. Freddy's lunge is also crazy huge. He kind of has built-in coup de grace, so you need to keep your distance by using the environment or breaking line of sight. It's so hard not to immediately muscle memory makes you want to throw pallets against Freddy. Facing off against a fake pallet Freddy is harder because I think the muscle memory makes it harder of wanting to toss that pallet in his face, and so often you get hit because it's a fake pallet, especially once it becomes late game. A good indicator to know if the pallet is fake or not, or if it's in a place that used to be a pallet, is you'll see the broken shards of the pallet on the floor. That is a good sign, a good indicator to know that that pallet is fake. Do not throw that pallet while you are in chase. It's harder to tell about fake pallets when they're not in places that pallets used to be. When you hear that it's Freddy, I don't want to tell you that you want to pre-drop everything as soon as you see it, but pre-dropping pallets with Freddy is the best way to play against him. If it's a fake blood pool Freddy, just running through them and getting rid of them, trying to steer clear once he starts to put down a fake blood pool, is to switch it up and get to a different tile as soon as you can. Kind of like a trapper. And while Blood Warden is a Freddy perk, they so often do run it because a lot of survivors don't expect killers to run their own perk. So often they don't actually even work on the killer that they're designated to. But Freddys do love to run Blood Warden. I know I do as a Freddy because the survivors don't actually expect it. So in all the holy grails of 99ing a gate, you wait to pop that gate open after the survivor takes the hook at endgame so you do not get blood wardened inside the trial. The pig. You have to keep your head on a swivel when doing a gen or on hooking because the pig can crouch kind of like Ghostface and sneak up on you. You'll hear her attack because she has this sort of sound when she winds up that sounds like a pig, and she will ambush you out of the shadows. When the piggy downs you, she's most likely going to try to put a party hat on you. So again, if you're somebody who likes to get flashbang saves or flashlights, you need to wait for that because you're going to give yourself away if you're trying to be sneaky for a flashlight. She's going to crouch down, put a hat on, and then pick up the survivor. When it comes to having a hat on as a survivor, you need to get that off pretty much as soon as possible. The trap won't be active until a gen pops. If a gen is not popped while you're being on the hook, the trap will stay inactive. And then a gen will pop and your hat will become active after that. You then only have so much time to go to all the different trap locations to essentially get the party hat off of you. It can come off on one try. Sometimes it takes 4. She even has an add-on that makes it that you have to go to 4 different traps to get the party hat off. If you notice that the pig is only using 2 party hats, or you notice that she's crouching a lot more than normal, it's safe to assume she's using the add-on Amanda's Letter, which lets her see the auras of survivors within 16 meters while she's crouched. If you do have an active party hat, you cannot cross the exit line. Even if you try, you'll not get the spikes like Blood Warden that's keeping you out. You will immediately die in the trial if you try to cross the exit line with an active trap. You can cross the exit line with a trap on your head, but you cannot let it be active. If it's active, you either need to let everybody else go in hopes that the other survivors will leave because you can take hatch with an active party trap. Or you have to take the time to try to get the active trap off and escape. Sometimes piggies, they're going to try to get their kill. They're not going to let you get that active trap off. That is the whole point. They know that you can't leave. So essentially, you're doing your best as a teammate. If you notice that it is endgame collapse, it's better off to leave and let that person essentially maybe get the hatch play, because otherwise they're probably going to die in the trial, whether it's to the hat or if it's to Piglet herself. The clown. Try to stay clear of his clouds and take advantage of your W key while he's mixing his bottles. Going against Clown isn't necessarily easy because it's generally pretty hard to see through his bottles. While in a loop or approaching a pallet or a vault and you hear the throw animation, it's generally safe to assume he's throwing the bottle at that position to slow you down. You should think about when you hear that throw animation to W key a different way. If you decide all of a sudden to go left when he thinks you're going to go right to the pallet, may save you from getting hit by one of his bottles. You can pre-drop pallets or try and make the vault, but sometimes it's easier to divert your course avoiding the cloud altogether than get caught up in it. Try to be unpredictable so they waste bottles trying to slow you down. Don't forget that Clown also has the pinky finger add-on, and if he directly hits you with a bottle, that you become exposed and you are one shot. And you have the effects of being hindered by the cloud anyways. It is an easy down for Clown, so definitely be careful of those. The Spirit. One of the biggest counters to Spirit is to walk when she is phasing. It's tough to do, and again, muscle memory kicks in and you want to run. But as soon as you start to hear her phase, even if you're in a small loop with her, walking away is probably the biggest thing you could do to help avoid getting caught up in her phase and her landing a hit on you. When you walk while Spirit is phasing, she'll be unable to hear you. It's when you run and your character is breathing heavy, she can hear the footsteps as well, but when you walk away, she's unable to hear the direction that you're going. Also, walking creates no scratch marks, so if you're uninjured at least, you can get away pretty quickly. If you're injured and you're in a loop with Spirit and she starts to phase, W keying to the next pallet, the next loop, the next tile is in your best interest to get away from her while you're injured. She's going to hear you pretty loudly, especially considering some of the perks that she might run because of that. She's probably going to land the hit on you if you don't W key away. Spee is another killer who does sometimes run her own perks, like Rancor, or if you see a spicy totem during the match, it's most likely Haunted Ground. Please, don't touch that. So we went over a few more killers today. Bubba, Freddy, Pig, Clown, and Spirit. So keep an eye out for spicy totems, Freddy who has built-in coup, and don't be afraid to check the basement for Bubba. Hopefully some of these tricks help and you'll escape your next trial. So good luck, have fun.
Let's go!